All right, what's up, guys? um, I haven't done a YouTube video in quite a while, so I really am excited to get back into making those, and hopefully I'll have a lot of them this week, covering a variety of topics. So the Cosmic Human Design website is now live, in case you didn't know. I know a lot of you have been excited about that, and have made a lot of charts with that. I think the website already has like gotten over 100,000 hits, which is a lot considering it's only been on like 2 weeks or something. So, um, so yeah, thank you for everyone who has checked out the site, made a chart, and especially if you chose to donate something, that really helps. Uh, and if you can't donate, no problem. Just like this video or subscribe to the channel, because I really want my YouTube channel um, to really become one of the, if not the main place that you can find me and find more information about cosmic human design and all those topics related to that. So I want this video to really try and be a kind of definitive, um, more or less, video about why I personally believe in cosmic human design, and kind of maybe tell a bit of some of these coincidences and synchronicities I keep mentioning that happened to me that really caused me to believe in it when I was first, doing all these calculations, getting the astrology right, and all that. Um, and so I'm just going to go through a few slides I've got here, which kind of lay out the different types of reasons why I believe this is true. All right, so the first reason um, is that cosmic human design is based on true sidereal astrology. And true sidereal astrology depicts the planets and stars as they actually appear in the sky. It reflects that in the astrological chart. And so that also is reflected in the human design chart, because human design uses astrology to calculate which gates each planet activates, right? Um, and on the screen here, we have a comparison between, like, I guess nowadays, the three different types of human design based astrology, more or less. So we have the tropical on the left, Fagan Bradley, or you can substitute the word sidereal there. Of course, there are like 20 or 30 different types of sidereal, so you have to pick one. And then true sidereal, or cosmic human design, on the right. And these are images, charts I made about a month ago. And basically what I would just want you to see here is the uh, tremendous difference in the position of, for example, the sun on each of the charts. So in the tropical chart, sun is in Pisces. This is like last month sometime. Okay, the sun is in Pisces. Now in the two sidereal charts, the sun is in Aquarius, and in the true sidereal chart, it's about right in the middle of Aquarius. Now on that day, I also took these pictures of Aquarius here and Capricorn here, so you could see what the actual location of the planets was on that date. And you can see here the sun in the middle of Aquarius. There's like the start, so there's like the end of Aquarius, uh, which corresponds to the sidereal charts, right? Um, and the other planets, for example, Jupiter in the middle of Capricorn, we see reflected in the true sidereal chart as well. But in the tropical chart, Jupiter is apparently in Aquarius. So that's reason number one, right? That true sidereal astrology gives a more accurate representation of where the planets actually are in the sky, because even though the actual physical position of the planet isn't changing, when we change systems, it doesn't change the location of the planet, obviously, but all these things are correlated to the hexagram wheel and the astrological wheel. And then based on where the planet is on that wheel, the calculation of which gate it affects is going to change. So that does change. In that sense, the position is changing. It is different because the sun being in Pisces is different from the sun being in Aquarius because of how we use astrology to calculate human design charts. And to better see that, let's look at this illustration that I made myself to help us understand this concept. Now, in this ring here, the inner wheel, and we have two wheels, the hexagram wheel, the astrological wheel. So here's the inner tropical wheel, and here's the outer true sidereal wheel. Now, the only difference in these wheels, there's two main differences. There's a rotation of the wheels, because through my research, I determined that the wheels are linked together in a very precise way. In particularly, the fact that gate 25 starts at the end of Pisces, the last few degrees of Pisces. So that's kind of where the wheel begins. So the wheels are locked together. So when one wheel rotates, the other one rotates as well. And the wheels actually have the same starting and ending point in tropical and in true sidereal astrology, human design. So here's some planets and stars. The sun, neutrinos come from stars and the sun, from constellations. And as those neutrinos pass through planets and then eventually reach someone on Earth, they activate the corresponding gate, depending on where the planet was relative to the person on Earth. So basically, what is happening here is that, so let's take this particular example of Mars here. In true sidereal human design, it would activate gate 21 because we see the neutrino streams passing through gate 21. But in tropical human design, standard human design, whatever you want to call it, it would activate gate 24 instead. And yeah, so almost all the gates are going to be different. Now, so that rotation is what caused that, because the order of the hexagrams doesn't change at all on the wheels. It's only the astrology signs, the sizes and number of the signs that changes. So in true sidereal cosmic human design, we have the signs each reflecting the sizes of the constellations that they are based on. And also, there's the 13th constellation represented, which passes through the ecliptic, which is how a sign gets to be on the zodiac. So Ophiuchus should be included. Why it's not, I have no idea. That's a whole nother discussion. So Ophiuchus and the different sizes of the signs from tropical, those are the along with the rotation. Those are the two main differences. So basically what's happened here, what's been happening, I believe, is that by using tropical astrology, um, so tropical astrology, I believe it kind of rotates, it does rotate, it's rotated from the actual real positions of planets. The planets are actually rotated. Like if you look up at the sky, according to tropical astrology, a planet will be shifted, rotated like 30 degrees from where it actually is in the sky right now and all throughout history. And thus, the neutrino streams from that planet are entering at a totally different location on the wheel if you're using tropical astrology than from where it actually is, where they actually are entering. So it's all thrown off. Like that's why I call it an obfuscation, because it is like a bending of the light. It's changing the angles of light to, in my opinion, um, we can debate on what the ultimate purpose of that may be, but in my opinion, obviously it's going to cause some confusion, and which it does, right? If you believe in cosmic human design, um, yeah, it's confusing. It causes confusion. Why why the heck shouldn't astrology depict the planets where they actually are? That seems crazy. It seems totally crazy. When I first found out about true sidereal astrology, I was blown away, because I just assumed that we had been that people had calculated the planets accurately. Yes, I'm going to say the word accurately because that's what it is, the entire time, only to find out that hasn't actually been the case. So, yeah, so that's, in my opinion, what's going on here. And you can see that here. And, a different gate is going to be activated if you use tropical astrology, which does not reflect the actual position where the planet actually was. If we're going by where the planet actually was, it should activate gate 21. So in making a chart for someone, that translates into you getting incorrect information, basically. Um, yeah, and I have here a little like point. Why should the true zodiac take precedence over the tropical zodiac? Well, I mean, basically because it's how the sky and constellations actually appear. How they actually are. It's in alignment with nature. That is true. That's 1000% true. And usually when something's in alignment with nature, that's a pretty strong argument for it being more true or more correct than something that's not, something that's fake or artificial, just in general, something that's natural. In philosophy, it's called the argument from naturalism, or there's even like the naturalistic fallacy or something. So the idea that if something is natural has historically been a pretty strong reason to think that it is true. And of course, there are tons of other reasons too, which I'm going through as we do this. Okay, so just to talk briefly about a few of the more subjective reasons, which subjective, and here we actually see that they become rather objective, because one of the, in my opinion, main proofs of the veracity of cosmic human design is how it makes people feel. And I mean, I know that usually an argument like from other people's feelings, especially, right, doesn't necessarily always have the most weight with people in debating whether it's true or not. But in this case, I think it absolutely does, because it's such a strong feeling. It's like it's like remembering something almost. It's like you've known this your whole life and all of a sudden got woken up to it. It's that deep of a resonance into your core inner being. And you can find tons of people saying that in all kinds of different and better ways than I can. Um, and I mean, the fact is that, you know, I mean, why not just try it? Why not just try it for yourself? And if you have a fair and open mind, I haven't seen a person yet who went into it with an open mind and actually gave it a chance, who hasn't eventually turned to accept it over the traditional human design chart, which is insane. Which is insane. Like the amount of people who have rejected the standard human design chart in favor of this one. To me, that alone is evidence of the truth of it, the validity of it. Um, yeah. So, and you've got nothing to lose by trying it, right? I mean, what what do you have to lose by trying it, like, and actually giving it a chance? I don't know. Yeah. So, and then there's a story I like to tell about, my ex girlfriend at the time, who at first, when I first discovered human design, I was enthralled like never before. And, I read all the types and everything, and I was like, oh, well, she's definitely got to be a reflector. I mean, it's the perfect description of her. Um, and she agreed. She thought she was a reflector as well. And I like read the types to her and everything. Well, as I got more into human design and everything, and actually did her chart, her tropical chart, she was a projector. She was a projector in standard human design. Um, well, she never bought into that, not even for a second. But me, I really did believe in human design, as standard human design. Um, and I took every opportunity I could to be like, hey, you did this and that, and don't you see how much of a projector that is, or oh, that's such a projector thing you just did to her, and trying to rationalize everything into her being a projector. It's kind of like I was trying to fit her into that box, and got rather obsessed over it, which I think is kind of the attitude that a lot of people who are still in the tropical human design system feel about people who are kind of branching off into this system. You see this all the time in the group, or maybe in some other forums or something, like, they try and put people in the tropical HD box and say how all these this and that are actually, you're a manifester or you're a projector. You're not that other thing. That's your not self. Everything's the not self. We got to remember that, guys. If you say something to upset these people, that's your not self. Just kidding. But it's always the not self. It's got to be. Anyways, when I got confident enough with the calculations, um, hers was like the second chart that I did after my own. And lo and behold, she actually turned out to be a reflector. That absolutely blew my mind, and was really one of the big, hits that told me, "Hey, you're actually onto something with this." Um, it's not just random or crazy. Like this could actually be true. Um, oh, and she just happens to have the same birthday as Ra Uhu, like April 9th, I believe. And so you know, that made them the same incarnation cross and everything. So in Cosmic HD, they both have the incarnation cross, the right angle cross of rulership, rulership, okay, which is like the politician type, the ruler type. They like, I believe the description says, they're comfortable, they're best off having something or someone to rule. I could tell you that's definitely true of my ex-girlfriend. And I actually turned out to have in Cosmic HD the incarnation cross related to this one, the left angle variant called the left angle cross of confrontation. So you can imagine how that relationship went. Rulership versus confrontation to rulership. Um, and it's interesting that a lot of these incarnation crosses, they're kind of written from the perspective of human design to human design. Like, so that's the way I kind of look at it, right? I mean, Ra was the ruler of human design. And what am I doing with Cosmic HD? It's kind of a confrontation towards human design, isn't it? Or at least that's how a lot of people are perceiving it. I don't necessarily advocate that. I don't want this to be a confrontation. I think that's more of a projection on me than anything. I'm just trying to develop the most accurate system I can because I want to know about myself, right? And about other people. And I want to be my true self. Absolutely. So it's not like I'm trying to, I don't know, go up against human design here. I'm just pursuing what I believe to be the truth. All right, so those are some interesting stories, and I could write a lot more, talk a lot more about this. Um, for example, me turning out to be the 45, my personality sun being the 45 in Cosmic HD. Well, so the 45 is sometimes called like the king or the gatherer, all these kinds of things. And man, it was like the one gate that could have been my personality sun, and I was just like, whoa, what the heck is happening? Because I had always thought of myself as kind of like not a king, I don't want to say that, or not a ruler or like anything like that, or not trying to be arrogant or something, but like I would always thought of myself as a like kind of natural leader, not necessarily a showy one, but you know, I don't know, people always generally listen to me and what I had to say and take my advice and kind of follow me when I do stuff. Um, so yeah, any other gene key that would have been my personality sun would not have had nearly the impact that the 45 did in convincing me of the truth of this because yeah, like I said, the 45 and it kind of felt like I was pulling the sword from the stone, like that kind of epic level of like whoa, like I'm like the king after all, and all this stuff. Um, but yeah, anyways, so that's another thing. Okay, so we got the astrology and all that. I don't see how there's much argument against that, to be honest. That's just what it is. Uh, but all these synchronicities that have convinced me of it, I talked about some of those. Could talk about a lot more of those later, but I don't want this video to be like 3 hours. So something else though that I thought of just the other day after looking at my parents' charts in Cosmic HD was, I'd always remarked upon the fact in Tropical HD that my parents' charts didn't seem much like mine at all. For example, here on the left, we can see my chart here, my mom's chart at the bottom left, my dad's chart at the bottom right. And yeah, I mean, you can see they're not that similar at all. Like, you know, mine and my parents' charts. I guess their two charts are kind of similar to each other, but I don't know, not really. Like, for example, they have all these energy centers, the sacral, the root, the spleen. I don't have any of those lit up. I have the head and the anshula lit. They don't have either of those. And I have the heart and G, and they have like at most one of those. So, yeah, and and I believe that they were both manifesting generators in Tropical HD, with me just being a manifester. So I thought that was always something lacking, perhaps. But if we look at the Cosmic HD charts here on the right, I mean, you can see like the same 4 centers straight down the middle in my chart and my dad's chart on the right. The same 4 centers are lit up, and my mom's chart, the same 4 centers plus the head, the ajna, is also lit up. And yeah, I mean, you can immediately the resemblance jumps out at you, which is similar to how it jumps out at people when they read their chart and like feel that it really is them. You know, it's hard to make this stuff up. So I'm not sure about this. Like, I haven't looked at other people's charts or their parents' charts, but this is an interesting experiment that we could use some more data on. So definitely check out your parents' or family's chart and let me know the results, please. All right. So to get back on the coincidences bandwagon for a few minutes, let's bring in the gene keys, which I really want to be talking about a lot more, so much more. And hopefully I'll have the gene keys golden path automated on the website pretty soon. So that, but I mean, you can look up pretty easily online how to make your like true sidereal or cosmic golden path, whatever. So yeah, I definitely recommend doing that, by the way. So here's my golden path in true sidereal slash cosmic. Yeah, because the gene keys, even on the gene keys website, you can go to it now, and at the bottom it even has this like kind of disclaimer, like, note these calculations use tropical astrology, not sidereal astrology. So this is becoming a huge thing. And you know, I think that true sidereal astrology is the future. Okay, and that the tropical, you know, they're missing out by keeping this all tropical, because there's a wealth of information in the gene keys golden path that you cannot get in any other way. So let me take you through the coincidences I found on my golden path. So first of all, the fact that I'm a 5, conscious 5 on my personality sun. I was a conscious 3 previously. Now the brand, see up here, the brand for that is, in the 5's case, wisdom or solutions. The brand for the 3 was humor or like pleasure or something like that. I don't know. Like the first time I read that with the 3, I was like, no way, it just deflated me so much. Like, how is my like life's work or livelihood branding going to be something funny or humorous in any way whatsoever? Like, that's the last way I would have wanted to think about it, right? But solutions, absolutely, absolutely, I could see myself selling solutions, selling solutions to problems. Like, that's kind of like the only way I can conceptualize myself selling things, is like, hey, this fixes that, okay, let's do it. So that's one thing. And in Cosmic HD, I had the 6th gene key as my purpose. And if you read in the 6th gene key, it talks about how these people tend to feel that they have a special responsibility for establishing world peace, or otherwise people, you know, coming together into a new society or something like that. And that is absolutely right on. And I did have the 6th gene key in my tropical profile, but when I read that in the gene keys, I was like, wow, how is this not my purpose, you know? Actually, it is my purpose. And in the cosmic one. So I've always felt that. I always felt like, there's something that was, I had some special responsibility, not necessarily special, but that was that other people wouldn't don't care about, or wouldn't care about, like world peace. Most people don't care about them. But all throughout growing up as a teenager, and going to all these programs, and talking to people from all over the country and the world, I really that was really one of my guiding principles, one of my motivating factors for why I was doing all that work, why I was, um, doing what I was doing. Um, and all the work it took to get into Yale, and then while I was there, meeting all those people, and talking with them, it's like not something that's very normal. So that's there. Another thing is I had the 55th gene key as my attractor field right here. So if you don't know, the 55th gene key is in the gene keys, the kind of like switch that's going to activate our, like, I don't know, our individual awakening, in the very near future. And it's going to be like a genetic mutation type thing. It's going to actually physically change. Um, and so that's kind of uh, it's funny because when how I went about discovering this is I heard about sidereal astrology from my friend Jaron Kenyon, who was my human design coach at the time, and his son was actually the 55th gene key in tropical, and and he also had the 45 as, one of his moons. Maybe even it was his attractor field. So it's interesting that I turned out to have both the 45 and the 55 in these very prominent positions in my cosmic gene keys golden path. Um, and yet to have the 55 in your attractor field, like to be attracting all that awakening type stuff, like that's something that I felt I should have had to begin with, right? I didn't even have the 55 in my original profile. I'm like, how can I not have the 55 if I'm like so interested in this stuff, you know, and have spent all this time reading and being interested in this stuff and not have the 55? It just seemed off. Also, I had the other counterpart, the more, I guess, more collective awakening gene key, which is in the same codon ring as the 55, the 49, which is my unconscious north node. Whoa, which is revolution. And that's another one um, that I didn't have at all in my original profile. And I was like, how can I not have this gene key? If I have any gene keys, it has to be this one, you know? Um, so yeah, and to have them in the positions that they are too, like your attractor field, your north node, it's like, what the heck, you know? All right, another interesting little coincidence or synchronicity, whatever you want to call it. I'm tired of saying the word coincidences. So interesting, interesting fact, let's just say, is the quote unquote IQ, which is derived from your conscious Venus. Uh, in your human design profile, your conscious Venus becomes your IQ. And I had the 2.2, which is the brilliant mind or the provocative mind. Okay. Um, nice, but let's look. The keynote for 2.2 is actually genius. Like, what? And by the way, I'm not saying, definitely not saying I'm a genius or brilliant or anything like that. No, absolutely not. But I mean, it just seems like it's talking to me, right? It's like confirming that that is correct, right? Like, um, like to have the brilliant mind, and for it to be the like one or two lines of all the lines that have genius as the keynote be in this particular spot is like, that's astronomical, you know? Okay. My vocation in this is the 10.6, which is behavior, um, naturalness, being, just being who you really are, which, in other words, could be described as being your true self, which is exactly what I'm doing with this cosmic HD as my vocation. And my culture, I have them reversed here. The culture should be here. This one should be here. This one should be here. My 17.4 is my culture. And man, when I read the description of this gene key in the Gene Keys book, I was like, this is my favorite gene key ever. Like, how do I not have this gene key? Because it was literally describing all the things I think about work and doing with my life, like productively. So basically, it describes the 17 being the kind of like the true scientists, the ones who each hold a part of this future utopian vision for mankind, and actually build. And actually, it says that the 17s are the ones who will build the next human civilization. And I spent many thousands of hours playing games like Civilization, Endless Space, for all those 4X type strategy or civilization builder games, um, and love like utopian literature, and I'm all about that. So, uh, after I read it, I was like, how do I not have the 17? Well, it turns out it's actually none other than my culture, which describes your place, ideal place in the whole, which in this case is a network, which is also quite accurate. The human design network, I suppose, or maybe there'll be another network. Who knows? All right, but yeah, so tons, virtually every gene key that I felt a resonance to at first and didn't have in my profile, it turns out I have it in the true Sidereal profile, which to me, again, is evidence of it being true. Now, this is really interesting. Let's take a little look at Richard Rudd's uh, cosmic HD chart and golden path. So I've already done Ra's chart, and you know, that showed that he had all 4 ego gates. He was the ego manifester. Just like he says in virtually every lecture of his I've ever read, he comments on how he has a huge ego. Turns out he actually had a much bigger ego than even he thought. Because I believe in his tropical chart, he only had 2 ego gates. Ego gates. So, what about Richard Rudd, the creator of the Gene Keys' profile? So here's his chart, and you might notice that none of the centers are filled in. So he is indeed a reflector in cosmic human design, and he has the personality sun of the 33. Both of those things I think are absolutely interesting. So, if you are familiar at all with the Gene Keys, you probably have heard, contemplation or the art of contemplation, or, listening to some of his audios. He's always like, if you contemplating this Gene Key led me to, it's the art of contemplation. And I mean, if we look at the 33rd gift, his personality sun, his life's work, the gift is mindfulness. Mindfulness. I mean, that seems to be pretty spot on describing contemplation. They're absolute synonyms, right? um, and also, several times in the actual Gene Keys book and elsewhere, he refers to the Gene Keys as a revelation. As a revelation. Well, the city of the 33 is Revelation. I think you can find that on his website on several pages, the revelation of the Gene Keys. And, I was reading his 64 Ways book, which is the transcript of his audios, 64 audios on each Gene Key. And on the 54th gene key, he says that the gene keys are a reflection of life. I mean, when what better type to bring us this masterwork gene keys than an actual reflector? And another couple of things I found interesting were that he's a 6'2" profile, cosmic HD, and has the cross of refinement, which the way I look at the gene keys is a refinement of human design. I think that's the way a lot of people look at them as well. So that fits. And in his cosmic golden path, whatever you want to call it, his vocation is the 64, because that's another thing. In his tropical golden path, he had the 64 as his life's work, which, of course, I thought fit. It made sense. It does make sense, which is, imagination and illumination. But here we see it's repeated in his vocation, what he's doing as far as work with his life, which is still the 64, illumination. I would have found it less easy to believe this if the 64 wasn't somewhere in this profile, but it is there. And not only is it there, it's in his vocation. So those are some very interesting things about Richard Rudd's profiles. Oh, another thing that I wanted to mention real quick is I was listening to his 18th gene key audio the other day, and at the very start, go listen to it right now. Please go listen to it right now. And he says how much he's drawn to the 18th gene key, although he doesn't know why. It's not in his profile. It's not even in his integrated human design matrix, he says. Well, I thought to myself, I wonder if it's in his true sidereal profile. It turns out it is. It is. It's right there. It's right here. It's right here. It's his south node. So I would say that he knows it very well in an unconscious way. So, okay, those are the main things I wanted to talk about. Now, what's most fascinating to me, though, about this entire thing is that is the name cosmic, the name cosmic human design. Where did that come from? People like to ask me. Well, I didn't realize it for the longest time, but it turns out I actually bought a book called I Ching, The Oracle of the Cosmic Way, which I didn't read at the time because it's rather dense and long. And I thought it was just another copy of the I Ching. Well, it turns out it is far from that. It's probably the most revolutionary book I've ever read or even contemplated. And if you really read this book and really understand what it is saying, my God, it is going to be world changing. God, I do not say that lightly. I do not say that lightly. But I mean, nothing I could say could possibly prepare you for this book. So let's just get into what I want to talk about here specifically. And that's the name Cosmic Human Design. I felt like this name Cosmic, it was in my head since the beginning. I didn't quite know why. And, it wasn't until I got like a month or two ago, actually, that I got all the calculations working, everything working, and finally went back and read this book. In part because it had the name Cosmic in it. And I was like, whoa, that's a crazy synchronicity again. So I read the book, and my God, like, let's just say that it led to thousands of other synchronicities that I'm still working out and will probably form a lot of the basis of my future YouTube videos and future output of whatever you want to call it. Okay, so let's just get into basically what it says. Get ready to have your mind blown a little bit. Now, one thing that I do want to say, first of all, before we start is that, a lot of people have kind of said that the cosmic, the true sidereal chart, when comparing it with the tropical chart, it kind of feels like you're in a different reality almost. It kind of has that feel to it. Um, and that's probably why a lot of, not a lot, but some people have experienced quite a lot of shock with it. Even reading about it has caused them some level of shock, of consternation about, whoa, have I really been living this other self this whole time? Or like this new profile, it's too crazy. It's too disruptive. You know, there's some people where that's definitely been the case, and it got me to thinking, like, after reading the Cosmic I Ching, well, I'm going to refer to it as the Cosmic I Ching from now on. That's much shorter. Um, this, because actually, believe it or not, Cosmic I Ching actually says this. It says that we are living in a parallel reality. Okay, a parallel reality. Now, as a matter of fact, it even calls it the demonic sphere of consciousness. um, and I'll explain that later, why it gives it that name. But basically, it all centers around this idea of the ego, of the ego. And so basically, one of the main things that it says, this Cosmic I Ching says, in fact, so, okay, one thing, this Cosmic I Ching, it purports to have been written with help from none other than the cosmic consciousness, or hexagram 1, which is usually called the creative or heaven or whatever. But in this I Ching, it calls it the cosmic consciousness. And the authors of this book say that they, went word by word and consulted the I Ching word by word to make sure that they were actually writing what the I Ching wanted them to write, more or less. And we'll go into a lot more of that later. But so this book claims to have been written in part with the help of the cosmic consciousness. And what it says is that the I Ching is actually a cosmic gift to humans to help them rid themselves of the ego in them, or to help them better determine whether their thoughts and ideas are coming from their true selves or from their ego. And it goes on to describe the ego in a bit different terms than what most of us would think as being in the ego. Like yourself, your mask you wear in the world to help you get by, your personality, yourself, right? A lot of people do consider the ego themselves. So apparently the ego is more like a computer-like virus, cosmic virus, that is instilled in our psyches, at birth through a variety of means during childhood, like all around us in society. This is being introjected, that's the word it uses, into us. And basically, this ego, we might not realize it, but according to the Cosmic I Ching, it has no existence of its own, and it only lives off of our life energy. And it's not at all in harmony with the cosmos. And actually, the Cosmic I Ching says that the cosmos withholds everything from the ego. It does not interact whatsoever with the ego. It retreats completely when your ego is present. That's why when you're consulting the I Ching, if your ego is present, if you're trying to get information out of it, or anything, trying to get some advantage, or seeing it as a book of merely divination, or or something, you won't get anything out of it. It'll just be confused answers because the consciousness that speaks through it will not respond to your ego. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, right? Um, so, and furthermore, it says that the ego is no accident. It's actually been purposefully, meticulously developed um, by our society, which it actually calls the collective ego, um, which is basically it comes down to uh, the collective ego comes down to basically being the aggregate of mistaken false beliefs about humans, about the cosmos, about humans' place in the cosmos, and all that. Um, but that's another discussion for another time. Now, after reading all that, I couldn't help but notice some correlations between what this cosmic I Ching was saying about the ego and human design. So, if you don't know, Ra Uru Hu actually wrote an entirely new version of the I Ching just for human design, which he called the Rave I Ching. Now, Rave, by the way, is supposedly the voice's name for us humans. So I looked, and just within the gate and line descriptions, which aren't very long, like not very many pages, not very many words, the word ego appears over 100 times. Yeah, and you can read that in the maybe definitive book of human design, or you can go online, and maybe I'll even link a PDF copy of the Rave I Ching, and you can go and see how many times the word ego is used in these gate and line descriptions. Now, I find that just so curious because after reading this cosmic I Ching and what the ego like apparently is according to it, and how bad it is, and hearing the word ego and how it's portrayed in almost exactly the opposite fashion in these gate and line descriptions, it's almost unfailingly in casting a positive light by Ra, the ego, that is. So, and I plan to like make a video very soon that is going to go and show you exactly how the lines are basically flipped 180 from the meaning in the cosmic I Ching to the meaning in the Rave I Ching. It's literally like a 180-degree flip in meaning, and it all hinges on the use of this word ego. The cosmic I Ching is saying, oh, well, you have to avoid the ego emotions. Don't let the ego, um, promote conflict. Don't let the ego steal your energy, Whereas in like human design, those lines would read, well, the power of the ego to crush all opposition, those lines I'm talking about. There are a lot of them. But the thing I want to get across though is that the cosmic I Ching makes it clear that actually your ego and you are not the same thing whatsoever. In fact, your ego has no place whatsoever in you. It's completely parasitic. I'll talk more about that later. Which that I know that will be very hard to accept for many people. I don't expect you to accept it just because I said it. um, but just set with it, I guess. And I really recommend you read that book, Cosmic I Ching, because it really will make things a lot clearer. But yeah, however you may think of the word ego, it's probably not the same as how this cosmic I Ching is thinking of it. So don't freak out or be like, oh well, ego, my ego, I have to get rid of my ego. Don't do that. Don't necessarily do that until you've read the cosmic I Ching and really understand what it's talking about. Yeah. So I just thought that was very interesting, this dichotomy over the use of the word ego um, in the Rave I Ching versus the Cosmic I Ching. And maybe the fact that the Cosmic I Ching actually spells it out. It spells it out that we are living in a parallel reality, the demonic sphere of consciousness, the world, the ego, all this negativity, which I would liken to the Gene Keys shadows, right? I mean, that's basically what the shadow is, the world we're living in, right? Um, and, uh, uh, and on the one hand, right? But then this other world, this the Cosmic I Ching calls it the quote unquote natural order of society, which is an actual thing, and that which would exist if the society we have now wasn't constantly pushing itself on all of us. But that's another discussion for another day. I just want to talk briefly about this notion of there being two realities and how it seems to fit in with the notion of the cosmic HD chart versus the tropical HD chart, kind of putting you in a different reality, not necessarily a different reality. I mean, a different perspective, certainly, which, I mean, is a different reality, more or less, right? I mean, that's really the only difference is your perspective. Your perspective changes everything. Your frequency changes everything. So I just wanted to put this in here because this is where a lot of my work I feel will be going in the future, and elaborating on all of this and what the Cosmic I Ching has to say about other topics as well. Now, I just wanted to end briefly with some thoughts on the artwork, which again was made by David Philip Gill. If I remember, I'll link his webpage or something down in the comment section or description below. But I just wanted to, I just wanted to, kind of describe what the Cosmic Kingdom Design logo actually is doing. It might not have been obvious to everyone, but so it kind of uses this retro synthwave type sun, which I thought was really cool. And I saw these lines, all these synthwave suns have these like broken lines. And those looked like lines from the hexagrams, of the I Ching for me. So I figured, we could just put the hexagrams in the sun because that's basically what human design is, right? The I Ching plus astrology. I mean, plus some other things, of course, but those are the two main components. I think most people would agree. So that's where the logo comes from, and that's what it symbolizes: the hexagrams being in the sun, being in astrology, and that being what makes Cosmic Human Design. All right. Well, I think that is a good place to end this video. So thank you very much. I'll see you guys next time.